Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 6th day of July, 2023. Well, I hope you all had a good 4th if you celebrate. Just to give an update on the roosters, it's not good. Uh, the day after Rudy was attacked that was Monday morning, and I told you guys about that. He was attacked by a raccoon. Um, the other rooster, George, was attacked, and Rudy was still alive at that point. We didn't know for sure, but he was still alive. And then George, his the other one, um, they came after him Tuesday morning, and and there was no and he was dead. So and then Tuesday night, um yeah, it would have been Tuesday night, the night of the 4th of July. The illegal fireworks around here there were so many. I've never heard this many ever. I've lived here for 42 years and never heard anything like that outside at night on the 4th. And the gunpowder, the sulfur smell was just horrid, and it just hung in the air. And I don't know if Rudy just simply succumbed to his wounds, or if the stress from hearing all that did it. But he was. My husband checked on him again before we went to bed, and he was gone. So we've lost both roosters, and it's really awful because they were great. They were funny. They were unique. They followed us around. I mean, they just were interesting birds. We kept them out away from the girls, and so they hung with us. And so to lose them, it's not that I would say they were pets, because we just sort of cohabitate with these creatures, but they. We raised them in the house until we could get them out. And when we bought the babies, had no idea we had two roosters. But they suddenly, two of them were growing way faster than the others. I'm like, oh no. but we gave them their own run and their own house and everything. And they were a lot of fun. And I think that we got them in, let's see, we got the chickens again in 2017, and then I think that group we got in 2018. I think we got them the following year, and ended up with those two roosters. And so that's an end of an era, if you will. But things like that happen on farms, and with building going on close to us and everything. It's no wonder that the wild animals are moving about. I mean, they do anyway. The deer population is just crazy around here, and we have 8-foot game fencing. We've had that for a while now, to keep them out so that we can actually grow gardens again. Otherwise, they come in and they have their babies, and they on the property, and which was cool for a while. But then when we decided we wanted to grow a garden again, it's like, well, okay, you guys have to stay out. So we put that around pretty much the whole property, either in one form or another, either an actual game fence, which I have around the compound area here, and then the rest of it is fencing that goes up that high, a combination of woven wire and barbed wire, so they don't come in anymore. And that's good, because they can do quite a bit of damage. So we cohabitate with all the animals around here, but we don't particularly care for the raccoons. They're a pain, so especially now. So anyway, that's enough of that. I told you guys I'd give you an update, and that's what it is. And it's not, it's sad, but you just know that something's going to happen around here. So anyway, let's take the rune for the first significator rune for the morning. We've got Ansus, which is Odin's rune. This is about spiritual communication, really. It's about divine message, it's eloquence, it's higher self, it's clarity, but it's clarity from higher awareness. It's clarity that's not clouded by ego. And so to start us out today, on the as above side of things, we'll do the geomancy rune for the below side. But clearly something is going to involve how you communicate and whether or not you're doing it with clarity. So let's just see. Let's do the. I need to move my keyboard out of the way here. I'll throw down the 4 geomancy runes and see what they give me. Well, okay. Yeah, this is Rubeus. Rubeus is considered one of the evil runes in the geomancy, and I don't really look at it that way, but I mean, you could you know, on an astral level, you could have vampiric energy coming in trying to tap you on the shoulder today. And you need to shield, and you need to not let that happen. It gets very, to me, it feels very sticky. I can't. It's like something's on me, you know, and it feels so weird that, you know, you basically have to stop and you have to dissolve everything and you have to shield, because otherwise, that's, you know, the energies, they'll come in and even if you don't realize you're empathic, everyone is, to a certain extent in terms of their own realization. But if you're open to it, then you tend to attract more of that. And they feed off of you, basically. And it's not a good feeling. And so anyway, Rubeus can be that kind of energy, but it can also be someone who is deceptive. It can be, it can apply to you that maybe you're being deceptive or you're engaging in a misuse of force. But typically when I see this, typically I interpret it as somebody else that's coming into your orbit, but it may not be. This could be where you're trying to communicate with somebody and you want something from them. You have an idea about maybe you want to do, say, at work or with somebody you're partners with, or something where you want to push your own agenda, your own way of doing something, and maybe you might find a manipulative way to do that. What the runes are suggesting is, if it is you that this is talking about instead of somebody else, then you need to elevate that discourse so that you're not being manipulative, so that the ego is not coming in and controlling the situation, because it might work in the short term, but people are going to eventually think about this and feel uncomfortable enough to do that and realize that they were manipulated. So you don't want to engage in anything like that. You want to elevate that discourse and elevate that intention and make it more collaborative and respectful of anyone else's opinions within that. So that's where we'll go there. We'll see how the cards show what they show, because it could be that they'll define, you know, who this Rubeus person is a little bit more clearly. If it feels like it's somebody else, it could be somebody else coming in your orbit today, where you've got to keep the conversation very lofty, very focused on the true outcome that needs to happen, and not allow them to manipulate the situation to their advantage. Again, it's learning to recognize when you're coming from the place of ego, which we all do, or you're coming from the place of higher awareness. And I think that with the runes today, particularly given that it's Odin's rune, with the Ansu's is Odin's rune, that gives it a little bit more weight in terms of the higher awareness aspect of it. So let's go ahead and take I'll cut the deck here and I'll take the lower half. Well, we have one card from Cups, one from Pentacles, and we have one from the Major Arcana. Let's see. So 21 is 3, 5, and 8 is 13. We have a 4 numerology for the cards themselves. And so with 4, we're talking about pragmatism, structure, foundation, boundaries, grounding, things like that. It could also have to do with, we see it sometimes in the tarot, like the 4 of Swords, it'll be like respite, you know, taking a respite. So all of that can factor into the idea of 4 and the numerology of 4. But let's go ahead and I think that I'm going to leave them in the order that they are. So let's take a look at the Two of Cups. Here we see two people, a man and a woman. The man is taking a step toward the woman and reaching toward the woman. They're both holding chalices. You see a winged lion above a caduceus. So this is really a card of healing. Something's happened. And between these two people, and perhaps the projective side of self, which would be the man, has gotten away from him, and he's done something, and now he needs to reach out to the woman in healing to try to solve the problem. And there's with two, there's also the decision to heal as well. So the choice is made here to come together again and heal. You see the line of demarcation that separates the home, it looks like a home in the distance there, and the area where they're standing. So they're out away from their lives, basically. So this could be a husband and a wife that's coming together. Maybe they've had a disagreement, and they're coming together in some kind of unity and harmony to heal that rift between them. Cups is the water element, and so it's talking about emotions. It's talking about change, momentum, empathy, compassion, and again, healing, balance, all of that with the two. So something's happened here where if we look purely at the guy stepping forward toward the woman, what if he's the Rubius in the equation? What if he's somebody that did something he shouldn't have done? And maybe he was disrespectful to her. Maybe he pushed his own agenda and made her feel like she had to go along with him. And the thing didn't really turn out very well. And now he's got to come back and say, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have overstepped the way that I did. And I manipulated you into doing something I know you didn't want to do. I mean, maybe it's a conversation like that. And when you do that, when you keep it out of the muck of, well, you made me do it and, blah, 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 then that's the ego talking, right? That's the lower vibrational self, the lower vibrational ego talking. It's not the soul level awareness that's participating in the conversation at that point. But when you can say, you know what, I did something I shouldn't have done. I messed up here and I'm really sorry. I own all of it, then that's higher awareness talking. It's not, there's no benefit to the ego to say things like that. Trust me on that. The ego wants to control everything. And so the ego doesn't want to give that up at all. And I think with, when you're looking at Ansus and Rubius, you're seeing that, well, there's a real downside to having to trying to engage in an egoic misuse of force with somebody, using your relationship to get what you want instead of what really is realistic, and respecting the other person in the process. So it could be something like that today. And the fact that I have the Two of Cups tells me that this may not be contained within just the individual here, both aspects, that really there may be another person involved in this that has, and either you're the one that's tried to misuse the force of it all in the relationship and all of that, or it's the other person. So I'm going to leave that general, because I just have this feeling that it's going to be one way for one person watching and another way for another person watching. Is like, okay, and you'll know, and the ego will fight you and all of that, but you'll still know. And next we come to the world. Here we come full circle. This is about completion, synthesis, and reward. We see the hermetic glyphs for air, fire, water, and earth on the corners. You see the same thing in the Wheel of Fortune, by the way. In fact, this next week's Exploring Tarot card is going to be about the Wheel of Fortune. That's a really complex card, and I break it down into all of its symbology. And it's an interesting card. It's very, very hermetic. And this sort of brings some of that here too. But here you see the lemniscates, the figure eights, the ribbons made in a figure eight pattern. They're called lemniscates. And you see that both above and below. And so as above, so below, we're coming full circle. We have achieved what we meant to achieve, and we've had the success that we wanted to have. We've completed whatever learning we wanted to learn. So there's this feeling of synthesis and reward at the end of the rainbow, basically, at the end of the struggle of the major arcana. All these things we're supposed to learn. We end with the world card, and everything sort of comes together in higher purpose at that point. And so I would say that the goal then is of the conversation that you need to have, the ansus, and with the rubious person, or with someone who's not the rubious person if it's you, and to come together in healing and a better understanding and a better balance, and to heal the damage that was done by maybe conversations before this one. And when you do that, then you can come back together and achieve in whatever synthesis and collaboration that you need to have with that person. It completes the circle, basically. And then you can move on. We could put the world at the end, and I mean, we can read it both ways. In fact, I'll do that. But here we have the Eight of Pentacles. Now, this is progressive success here. This is building your material security. Eight is about strength. It's about material recognition and approval, greater harmony, because he's doing this on behalf possibly of his family. I mean, he could represent this guy here. But once you get back in sync with your partner, you can now go and build your future together, basically. And here he is. You can see possibly this looks more like the castle in the distance here, but he's a guy who's gone through his apprenticeship. He's now working on his own, and he's building he's doing it outside, so he's doing it out in front of people, even though you don't see them. There's the implication that others can see him because he's not contained within a building, and so because he's outside there and he's building his fortune, basically. He's establishing his material success. He's creating. He's a creator of sorts. So he's and whatever it is that he's doing. I mean, if he's somebody but essentially he's building his wealth, and it's on display for others to see. And so there's that element of material recognition and approval with the Eight also evident on the card. But you can't do that if there's a problem and if things are not in balance. If you wanted to look at this just as an internal thing of balancing the polarity within and healing the polarity within, so that you can then be successful, so that you can bring something to completion, so you can then get your reward. Then this could be healing the polarity within, and it's not a man and a woman at all. It's the receptive and projective presence within. Perhaps that's been out of balance. Perhaps if the receptive side of self was too strong, maybe you couldn't do what you wanted to do because of fear. But if it's too much on the projective side, on the masculine side, then maybe it's just something where you've taken too many risks and things are really not getting going in the way that you want them to. And to have that type of completion and synthesis and reward, you have to be able to get things in order and get focused on your material security and how you're going to manifest that. And in the Eight of Pentacles, I think that he's done that. So I think that it really shows in a reading where sometimes you have to move your cards around. And I think that's what we're going to ultimately do here. We've talked about it in the initial way, but I really think that let's look at this in two ways. Let's look at this. You've had to heal a situation with a partner. And in doing so, maybe perhaps you're more in sync with what you need to do. And then you go and you do it. And then you have the synthesis of it all, the completion, the reward. You come full circle, basically, like you do with the Wheel of Fortune. But this is more final. This is where everything is in balance, and you're going to be successful because you took the time to heal the rift with your partner and to get on the same page. And then you go and you achieve your material recognition and approval. You achieve your success. You create your wealth. You create your material security. and then you end up having your reward at the end. You can look at this the exact same way if you take the people out of this and look at this as polarity. If you heal the polarity within, if things are off balance for you all the time, you can't get going because things are off balance. You've got too much receptive or too much projective, where you're either too scattered and too here, there, and everywhere with the projective side, or the receptive side is so passive that you just can't get it going, and you can't do what you need to do to build your life, to build your material success. And so if you come in and you go within and you start thinking about that from a higher perspective, and you don't let the internal dialogue devolve into the ego, but I want this, I want that, I want that, you don't get into that aspect of it, and you keep that inner dialogue high with ansus, then you can heal that and bring a better balance to all of that, so you can go out and earn your trade, earn your wealth through practicing your trade, and then you end up with your reward at the end, and the success that you have at the end. Everything's integrated in a way that everything just sort of flows together in the figure eight pattern of life. You have a little bit of ups and downs, but you keep on going, and so you can look at it two ways here: an inner way, and then one where you have a conflict with somebody else, your partner probably, and you need to get on the same page with that. Maybe you're somebody that's not really focused, and not focused on building, what it is that you both agreed to build. When you came together, maybe you married somebody, and all the things you talked about beforehand, before the marriage took place, all the plans you had, maybe you got off track, and maybe you're somebody that needs to have that conversation with your partner, to where you can then get back on track and remember what the goal was, the personal goals you set together were. And then at that point, you can get focused on your career, and you can get focused on creating material security for you and your partner. And then when that happens, then you have you come full circle. You've learned all you need to learn, and you, in a sense, at least in terms of the tarot, because this is the final card of the major arcana, and so you've come full circle, and you've learned that integration, and there's your reward. So a positive thing can happen from it. But again, it's about controlling the impulses within. We see another version of this with the Geomancy rune poor, which is scattered little boy energy and a lack of impulse control. Well, I've always said that Rubius is the adult version of that, but it's a little more, negative and controlling, and because it's an adult, so it's one thing, it might be a little cute to watch your little boys act that way, and not have a lot of impulse control and be here, there, and everywhere. It might be fun because they're playing and they're having a wonderful time and all of that. I raised 2 boys, but we never really had the issues on the negative side with them, but that some folks have, but you can see where, if this kind of stuff continues into adulthood, they're never gonna be able to keep a job, and they're not gonna go. They're just gonna go play and have fun, and the bosses be like, well, where are you? And so there's nothing that's gonna motivate them to really do anything with their lives. But when you come together, say in a marriage, and we're just assuming this with the 2, when you come together in a marriage, there's typically conversation about that prior to getting married. What will our life look like? What do you want to do? What are your plans? What is each person, what are you going to school? Are you in some apprenticeship program? I mean, on both sides of the equation, both the man and the woman, or the 2 men or the 2 women, what the partners, what are they going to do with their lives? Where do they see their lives going? And how does that contribute to a marriage together? Will only one person work, and the other person may choose to stay home and raise children? And that's not like you're not working, but you're not bringing any money into the house. And so there's lots of things that people talk about before they get married, and it just feels to me like there could be something partnership wise where one person isn't living up to the agreements made, and their attention is turned in other directions, and it's not on the preservation and the material security of the partnership or the family. And so if that's the case, then you've healed it, and now you're getting back to things, you're getting back to work, and in doing so, you have a bright future ahead of you, and you get the material recognition and approval, which then comes the better job or the increased customers that you have if you're an entrepreneur of some kind, a self-employed person who doesn't have anyone else working for them. You're just on your own. You're building your reputation and your name out there, and you're getting more clients or customers. And so you're building that along the way, and when you do, then you understand that. To me, the synthesis and the reward is the true understanding of you have to buckle down and you have to maintain the agreement that you made with that person to then move forward together in some kind of a way that creates the material recognition and approval and the material security that you're looking for your family, or if you don't have children, for just you and your partner, whoever that might be. So and even if this was not a marriage, if it was, say, a partnership that came together for the purposes of a career, for building a business together, if you're not being honest with that person, if you're not staying committed to the goals set together that you set together for that business. I mean, it could be any kind of partnership. So let's just keep it, very general. I mean, it could be a marriage, it could be a career type, a work type of partnership where you're going to own a business together. But you have to heal that rift within, and you've got to keep the ego out of it. You've got to heal whatever's going on so that you can then get back to work and get back to business. And when you see the relationship between having a strong partnership and having that strong communication, that one that does not devolve into ego and what I want, and you can't collaborate with that other person, then you're not going to get anywhere together. It's going to have to be something where you're going to have to do your own thing at that point, because I don't know how, because the other person has to find their own way too, right, at that point. But when you understand the connection between making that commitment to somebody else, whoever that is, and then you can then move forward together and build the wealth of that partnership, basically, that could happen, if you stay on the same table and you're not fighting one another all the time. And from then when you that all happens, then you see your synthesis. You see how things come together, how they integrate together, and through that integration, you're successful. Does that make sense? So either with Rubius, somebody's trying to undermine that process, maybe, or it's or somebody is just not really focused on whatever you all agreed to. Does that make sense? So anyway, I think that's it. I think it's just something where, you've got to keep the conversation really lofty. And coming from higher awareness and not getting into the muck of the ego, because that will be there. With Rubius, it's telling us that's going to be there, and you don't want that to guide the conversation at all. You want something that's not going to be so totally focused on what that person wants to do at the expense of the relationship, basically, because that's what the Rubius energy will do. So I guess we talked about vampiric energy initially. We talked about just maybe the inner struggle within. It could be that, or if it's with a separate partner of some kind, whether love partner or business partner, whatever it is, something has happened, and somebody's got to take that first step to get that conversation started, so that you can then get back to business, essentially, of making your way in life. And then ultimately seeing the integration between the two. And that reinforces you for the next time. So anyway, thanks for watching. And enjoy your weekend here coming up, and you know, I'm just going to go spend some time with my chickens. I don't know what else to do. I ran out there today because I heard one of them squawking. It's probably because she laid an egg, but I went out there anyway. It's like, oh no, oh no. I'm yelling for my husband. He's up irrigating, so he's not here. And so I ran out there, and they're just fine. They're fine. So I'll be doing that quite a bit today, I think, because I still haven't recovered from the carnage out there. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. I hope you'll click subscribe and come back. It's not always this sort of news that comes from my life, but I told everybody about it on Monday because it happened Monday morning at 6 a.m. and then I sat down and did this. I'm just like, oh boy. And I said, I will tell you, I will give you an update on Thursday. So I've done that. And anyway, I followed through, as hard as it is to talk about it. So anyway, again, everything's will be up on the blog on, let's see, it'll be Sunday morning at midnight. Everything goes up the week ahead, the daily correspondences for the week for Work of Magic, and then also the Exploring Tarot post will also be up. Also, I post over on Substack, Patreon, and Medium. So if you want to follow me over there too, you can. But check out the blog. The blog's called Stepping Aside. The web address is imsteppingaside.com. You can click on more below the video, and it opens up a box that talks about a bunch of different stuff. But at the top is the website address. If you forget, you can just go there, and there it is. And or you can Google Stepping Aside. I think it comes up. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it comes up. But anyway, check that out. And the videos go up there, plus the write-up and all of that. I was only doing that over on the other 3 places, writing things up. But I started posting the same thing over on the blog because I thought, well, maybe people want to read that, over there instead of the other places. So anyhow, that all goes up on Sundays and this early morning in the midnight hour. And then we meet again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.